Nestor Show. Good morning, America, and welcome to the Nestor Show. Today we will be playing AP World History Feud. Are you guys ready to learn? No? Too bad. Bring in the the contestants. Introducing Lazaro Barrios and Alessandro Padilla. Sit down. Let's get right into the show. Okay, first question. What trade routes existed and which ones helped expand the World Trading Network?
Portugal.
Spain.
Wrong. The correct answer is Portugal traveled down the African coast in 1434 and explored these lands and brought back slaves, spices, and stories from the lands. In 1498, the Portuguese went to India and created a trade network between them and the Indians. In 1514, Portugal colonized islands in Indonesia, the center of spice production, and China.
Thank you, Anna. Let's get right back to the next question. Remarkable new transoceanic maritime occurred during this period. Name them. Alessandro?
Well, in China, Zhang He sent a fleet of about 28,000 men down to southeastern Asia just so that he can create closer bonds with the people around him. And this worked. And in Portugal, Henry the Navigator, encouraging many of thousands of people to cross the Atlantic and to venture into Africa.
That is correct, Alessandro. Point for you.
Thank you, my son.
Name the European monopoly companies and what they did. Lazaro?
Well, the Dutch and the British East India Companies were a government monopoly of trade in the regions that ruled the territory and expanded trade.
Good, that's correct. Moving on. So now, what was the influence Europe had in the Americas? Alessandro?
Well, the Spanish influenced Latin America while the British and French influenced North America. The natives were being converted to Christianity due to the Spanish missionaries. Social classes became more distinct and with a thriving merchant class. Also, nuclear families were promoted by the French and the British.
Correct answer. That's a point for you. Next question. American foods became staple crops in various parts of Europe, Asia, and Africa. Cash crops were grown primarily on plantations with coerced labor. Name them and their impact. Lazaro?
Okay. New World crops spread rapidly through Western merchants. American corn and sweet potatoes were taken up widely in China, also the Mediterranean and Africa. Corn became a staple in African diet. French fries were eaten in the streets of Paris as early as the 1680s. European and Asian animals such as horses and cattle were introduced to the New World. The New World Trading Network led Afro-Eurasian fruit trees, grains, sugar, and animals to the Americas. Sugar and salt became a basic material for everyone during this time. Because of all these new foods, the people avoided starvation.
I wanted to answer that one.
Sorry for your loss.
Okay, Lazaro is correct. That's a point for you. So now that you mentioned the African and American food crops, now let's get to the problems the Europeans had in the Americas. Alessandro?
Well, the Europeans brought diseases which killed off at least half of the native population. This was because the natives had no natural immunities to these diseases.
Okay, correct answer. Moving on. Laz, what do you do when life gives you lemons?
Well, that's English lemonade, sponsored by Minute Maid.
When we supposed to make pineapple juice?
Welcome to Human Geo.
Today we will identify, observe the changing continuity of Europe over time.
So, the country called Portugal in the 15th century explored the west coast of Africa, and also during this time they went around Africa tip of it to India and to the Indonesia and colonized Brazil. So Spain, also in the 15th century and 16th century, colonized the Caribbean and through the island of Cuba, conquered the Aztecs and the Incas, and colonized Latin America and South America. And also during this time, they went through the Pacific Ocean all the way to the Philippines and colonized it.
France established New France in central United States and in Canada. The British established the 13 colonies and also in Canada, having big disputes with the 7-Year War. The British also went down to Cape Town, establishing the British East Company of trading in India and in Indonesia. The Netherlands also went down to Cape Town and established the Dutch East India Company, producing trade and luxury products all throughout India and Asia.
Britain accepts the proposal made by France to take in New France for the Caribbean islands that produces sugar. Do you accept?
We accept.
This concludes the Treaty of Paris and the 7 Years' War.
You are the Dutch company, right?
Yes.
I have this cotton and I want your sugar.
Okay.
So I guess we have a deal. Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Hello, are you the British East India Company?
Yes, of course.
I am Indian. I have spices. I am in the music.
Would you like to trade?
Yes, I do.
Have a nice day.
Gracias.
Our final question. What competition over trade routes existed and what did it bring? Lazaro?
So during this time, competition over trade routes often consisted of disruption and distracting of trade or merchants, also sabotaging items like luxury goods and crops.
Very good. And now I'm hearing that we have a tie. It is 3-3. And we will need one other final question. The final question is, who is smarter?
Me. Well,
Alessandro?
I got a 92 on my benchmark.
Well, I got 100.
Well, what are your special grades?
Oh, that's a different story.
I got a 42, so
I got 20.
oh,
So, who has the higher average?
well, currently I'm sitting on the 72 average in history.
I have a 65. So,
We conclude that Alessandro is our winner. Thank you and join us again tomorrow in the Nestor Show.
Nestor Show.